This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you in partnership with ministryleague.com. We would love for more people to discover this show, so please rate and review us on iTunes or your podcast provider. Feel free to share on your social media and subscribe at benandtravis.com for the free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living. Welcome to the Helping Healing Humor podcast with Ben and Travis. We are once again excited to be with you and excited about another great episode today. And Travis, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. Obviously, those of you that are watching on video, those of you listening on the audio will find out soon. But, well, you've seen the title, but we have one of my favorite people in the whole wide world with us today. And then obviously one of our favorite guests. But I'm great. Summer has started. This is the first Monday of summer. Honey-do list has begun. And I've accomplished everything so far. So, just give it time, wait longer. I'm sure I'll fall behind on the list again, but batting 1,000 right now.
And it is getting hot outside. We've had 8 or 9 winters already this year. Never really did get hot, and now it's come with a fury. So here we are in North Alabama. It's scorching hot. Going to be going to some baseball games in the next couple of weeks, and I'm sure I will blister even at 6:30 and 7 o'clock at night because it is warm outside. But that's beside the point. We are glad today to have Mr. Lonnie Jones with us once again for an Ask Lonnie Jones Anything episode. Lonnie Jones was my supervisor in counseling. He still is my handler oftentimes when I have questions or there's probably a lot of Ask Lonnie Jones Anythings that I do all by myself when I call and go, hey, how should I handle this scenario? Lonnie has been in ministry for 20 plus years, I guess, altogether, maybe more than that. He's been in maybe longer. We're not gonna give away his age.
Spring of 80?
Yeah. The spring of 80. So let's go to 40 years in ministry.
Number up a little bit.
But in counseling, however, I was probably a little closer on the counseling number there, and has worked in counseling field, has worked in the with the SWAT team in Huntsville for many years as the founding, the person who started the SWAT skit team that we are now get to be a part of at CYC and some other events throughout the country. And so Lonnie has had his hand in a lot of things and has influenced a lot of people throughout the years. And so we're just always glad to have you here, Lonnie.
Man, y'all are two of my favorite people. I love to be associated with you guys. I call you as often as you call me about, hey, Ben, I'm dealing with this. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And then Travis, I get a lot of encouragement just being in your sphere of influence because of your enthusiasm for life and your dedication to the Lord.
Well, we're certainly glad to have you. And of course, Lonnie, I didn't mention this. Lonnie also now has his own podcast that if you are not listening to, you should be, because it is fantastic. The Keeping Up with Jones podcast adventure. And it's got some good material. So if you're not listening to it, you need to be. So we're just glad to have this guru on with us today as we ask questions. Now, first question is not really, you don't have to give an answer to, but we're just, we're sitting here looking at an Auburn shirt on you, and it's terrifying.
Okay, so on Monday mornings, I'm with this group that we call Blue Jitsu. There's a lieutenant with our investigation division, used to be with our STAC team, and he teaches defensive tactics. And it's a cop group only, and we get together at 10th Planet Huntsville, and they let us use their gym, and we teach some cop-specific jiu-jitsu. And some Mondays I get to go down there and roll with them. And today I did, and it's hot. And so after about an hour and a half of drills and then rolling with some of these young guns, I get to the office and realize I don't have another shirt. So I'm wearing one of these ostentatious 10th Planet rash guards. Get on my YouTube page or look up YouTube Lonnie Jones Purple Belt Promotion, and you'll see the kind of rash guards that they wear. And so I didn't have a shirt to wear to the office, so I go to the mall in my rash guard and go shopping for shirts. This is the cheapest shirt I could find. So that's what I bought.
Cheapest. There you go, folks. The cheapest shirt you can find is an Auburn shirt. We just need you to know that.
Every time walking to at least in the Huntsville, over the west side, typically the Auburn stuff's going to be on discount. I'm sure it's the other way on the east side of the state, but nonetheless.
Sorry, Blake Holloman. We love you, but there you go.
Shots. It's just I had to take that shot at you.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, anyway, that was the very first thing. We just had to get that out there. That we still love you for the Auburn shirt. We've got a bunch of Auburn friends.
And I can take it off, but your ratings are going to go right now.
That's okay.
We want to get that sweater.
That's right. We're good with it for now. So
we will make it.
That'll work. Well, so I'm going to let Travis start off with the questions then.
Well, we put on Instagram. We kind of got a lot of questions from Instagram this time. We put on a chance to win an Awakey Sleeper sticker. And so people asked their questions. They got put in to win a sticker. We had a winner. Danica Harker is not the winner of the sticker, unfortunately, but she asked via Instagram, what month and year were you baptized?
Oh, wow. I was baptized at a tent meeting in August 1970, 71, right? And I really don't remember, but I was very young. I was very, very young. John Rice, the guy who founded Backwoods Christian Camp, was doing this tent meeting, and I went down the aisle and responded. There's a cool story with that I like to tell sometimes. But anyway, that was the month and the year.
So first of all, a follow-up question. What's a tent meeting?
So we used to have,
I've been to a tent, but you can answer it. There may be some people out there listening who are going, what's a tent meeting? So
a lot of area churches would get together, and since none of the churches were big enough to hold the crowd, they would put up a big tent in a field, and folks would drive in, and it was nighttime sounds, crickets and tree frogs with a speaker system, and it was just a meeting that was held under a tent, kind of like the hay bale guy named it, the tent meeting.
It's impressive. Yeah, I've been to one out. They used to have one out in the area kind of west of Florence, and several churches got together and did that. And those are really neat.
I've spoken at that 2 or 3 years in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
I almost got blew away by a tornado at one of those.
1 year, yeah, that's true.
So what's the cool story? Is the story something you can share on here?
So when I went forward, there were several bigger guys and I was very young, a very little bitty guy. And there was a wrestler at our high school. I want to say his name was Tim Davis. And of course, to my tiny little frame, he was a monster of a guy. And there was no place to sit on the front row. So they stood me between his knees. And of course, it was emotional, and several of us were crying. And he wrapped those big arms around me and held me there.
That's cool.
And I remember in my little brain wanting to be a source of strength for people like that. And so, when I pretended to be a superhero, it was not a lean, flexible. It was, Ben Grimm, the Thing, or Thor. It was the guys that were massively strong. And I guess my pursuit of physicality was so that if one day I put my arms around somebody, they'd feel safe and secure. And that image of his strength probably led me toward wrestling, probably led me toward push-ups and pull-ups. And I just remember how secure I felt with my arms around these tree trunk thighs and these python-sized arms wrapping up. And I don't know, it was one of those impressionable moments. And so
cool.
If you've ever been wrapped up in my arms, they were designed so that when I held people who were hurting, they'd feel secure.
Well, usually when I've been wrapped up in your arms, it was when you were, practicing jujitsu skills, and I didn't feel a lot of like love and warmth at those moments. But
Well,
just saying,
there's another side to that, I guess. But yeah.
Nah, that's not true. We have hugged before, and it's been the other way around. So that's pretty cool. So a follow up, kind of staying on the spiritual type questions are. This one is from Joseph Wapert. I hope I pronounced that name right. Do you know the name, Travis?
I think that's right? That's close, right? Somewhere there. He'll forgive us either way.
So sorry about that. Yeah. So what's your favorite topic to speak on? And you can't say Jesus. I'm just kidding. You could say Jesus, but
my favorite study right now to do is either the book of Ephesians, that is the plus sign of the universe, bringing God and people together,
Yep.
or I like to start in Genesis and talk about the function of shame and how that when sin entered the world, God had anticipated sin. He prepared for it. So when Adam and Eve sinned, it didn't throw everything off the rails. It's when Adam and Eve sinned, it was their response to sin. They hid from each other.
Mm-hmm.
They were naked and there was no shame. But as soon as that self-consciousness arrived, they covered themselves and they hid from God. And what God said about sin was, when this happens, I can fix it. Come to me. But we didn't do that. We ran. And, if you're one of your children, you say, hey, don't climb up on that. And they climb up on it and they break or they hurt their leg. What do they do when they hurt themselves because they disobeyed you?
They still come running back.
They run to you.
Yeah.
God said, hey, I'm going to create these people. I recognize they have the capacity for sin. And when they do sin, they'll run to me. But the devil corrupted it. They got them to see themselves as compared to God, and instead of running to God, they hid from each other, and they hid from God. And we've been doing that. And the message of the church is, you don't have to hide from each other, and you definitely don't have to hide from God. That would probably be my favorite thing to start with if it wasn't. And I think that's the message of Ephesians too. But there's I like to start from there. And that's the root of all spiritual health, is understanding the function of guilt and shame, how it's supposed to be used rather than how it got used.
Pretty cool.
That's a deep study. It's like a well. It's deep. It's really neat. I that idea of what godly grief produces versus, we have, not to get into all that, but we have a cancel culture. Right.
Yes.
It's like you mess up once, you're done as far as the world's concerned. But with the Lord, it's that 70 times 7. It's that, going to the one place that could be made right. Jesus, you have feed the 5,000. He turns around and says, well, you got to eat my body, drink my blood. And everybody starts to leave. Are you going to leave me too? No. To where shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. So
we believe and have come to know that you are the one.
Yeah.
That's pretty good stuff, man.
A lot to speak on there. If you ever need a point of emphasis to preach on, but I'm going to shift a little bit.
Right. My Oreo.
Yes, Oreo. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
And everyone will be preoccupied with Oreo because who doesn't love a puppy?
Face the camera, sweetie.
And the close relative of our guest that's come on here a couple of times, Billy the Speed Goat, is Bob the Speed Goat that happens to be hanging on Lonnie's wall, killed on the same trip as Billy that hangs on my wall that you've seen in some of the episodes. So we have a couple of animal guests with us today. One's still very much alive, one not so much. But anyway.
Shifting a little bit from the spiritual, I guess it could be spiritual. One of my students, Jess McWhirter, or Jess_Lynn 88 on Instagram. What is your favorite song? It's a tough one, maybe.
Oh, man. See, you have to have a context for that.
You can give us a few.
Okay, my favorite relationship song is Bob Seger, It's You. I did a dot drawing of Jackie holding Lonnie Beth on our 5th anniversary and wrote those words down beside it. And it's an old Bob Seger song called It's You. And I really like that as a
I figured Bob
anthem.
Seger would get in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
An anthem for me and Jackie. I like the song I wrote for Jackie as well as I do any song. I didn't sing it. Chad Brown sang it. It's called Jackie's Song. It's on the end of one of my podcasts. I wrote it for our 25th anniversary, and it tells the story of us pretty good.
So wait, you wrote a song for Jackie and you named it Jackie's Song?
I did.
Where'd you get the inspiration for that? Is that the Havo guy?
I'm a creative silver-tongued devil of an orator. Let me tell you that. He may look dumb, but that's just a disguise.
It's just a disguise.
He's a master in the ways of espionage.
Yes. So is that another favorite song there that you?
I
just
do
quoted?
like The Uneasy Rider by Charlie Daniels. Man, it really depends on the mood I'm in. I run to a really eclectic set of music. I like Moving On by Rascal Flatts as a good song.
Sorry,
One
Travis.
of the lines is, I never dreamed that home would end up as somewhere I don't belong. Some ideas about some of my departures in ministry before.
Yeah.
Church song, I like.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Who
ask.
would have thought that a lamb could rescue the souls of men? Father God, just for today. And then Thou, O Lord, art a shield about me. Probably my 3 favorite songs to sing.
Those are good ones.
And then Do Not Fear. When you pass through the fire, I will be with you. Those are good church songs.
That's good stuff. Those are some good ones. I heard a song the other day, and now I can't even remember the name of it. But I was riding down the road, and it literally spelled out everything that happened in my childhood. I sent it to Travis, and I was like, "That's like down the line exactly what growing up." Like, it was talking about Tonka trucks and GI Joe men, and talking about it even mentioned Don Williams on the radio. It mentioned the Braves. Yeah. I was like, my dad's favorite, singer was Don Williams. We had the Braves on, NASCAR, all that kind of stuff. I was like, did they have a camera on me as a kid? Because it was right down the line, everything. So
I would blame Alexa if it existed back then, but it didn't. So
yeah, that's exactly that.
Why do you wear a pistol in the house? Because of government surveillance. I laughed, she laughed, the toaster laughed. I shot it. A good time was had by all.
Yeah, exactly.
I like a song that we don't sing in church, but I heard on the radio is the song "Fear He Is a Liar."
Oh
yes, that's a good one.
That's a great song.
Yep. It is a good one.
That's good stuff there too. So coming back to Lonnie, you do a lot of things in a lot of different areas that we've already mentioned. SWAT. Both SWATs. I think we've said before, you don't want one doing skits and you don't want the other one busting in doors. Don't get them confused. The 2 SWATs that you're a part of, Skits with the Truth and the actual police SWAT. But somebody asked, and I know you also have your own private practice, so a lot of time you're spending some time by yourself. But I'm assuming this goes towards maybe when you're working with SWAT. How do your fellow workers respond to you being a Christian? So I would say, how do your police, the SWAT team and some of those, how do they respond to you being a follower of Christ?
They are very gracious to be sensitive to my worldview, especially the younger guys. They're always, apologetic about their language. They ask me sometimes serious questions, and sometimes they ask me joking questions. But I usually get to give the moral ruling on things that they talk about. It's one of those, the men who are not really religious have me that hey Lonnie, would you pray for this for us? Like I've got some special connection to God that they don't have, and so and then the guys who are men of faith kind of respect me because I try to be consistent and try to be a man of faith. Now I get teased a lot about, that I'm a snake handler. That everything is hyperbole. We were briefing to serve a warrant. And I don't do anything. I'm a glorified mascot, but I'm standing in the briefing, and the FBI had a representative there because it's part of their task force. And, they said, well, now we've got some intelligence that when you go into the living room of this house, there's these cages that contain reptiles, and some of them may be venomous snakes. And one of the guys on the SWAT team said, don't worry, we brought our preacher. He's a snake handler. and the person from the FBI was like, oh, these guys are thorough. It was a joke. It was an absolute joke.
That's amazing.
And they don't have a sense of humor, so that's just the way it was.
Well, I've seen you interact, with the times that I've worked on the ropes course or whatever. I've seen you interact with the police department, some of the guys that are there, and there's the utmost respect I see from them for you and what you do. And you guys have a great connection. And I think that's important, that they don't see you. And I know that's one of the things that sometimes try to pride myself on is sometimes you're not just seen as a preacher. They see you as somebody that's relatable, relates to them, has a good time with them, but also that they can come to in those moments, whether as a counselor or as a minister or whatever else. And I think that's important, to be relatable to people.
And I think, even at levels of familiarity, I've gotten more comfortable with them over the years, and they know exactly that I'm a flawed human. There's not some facade that I'm in some special category and that I don't have doubts and troubles and fears and issues. And I think they see me as just an authentic person who's trying to be better.
Yep. That's one of the big cool things about campus ministry for me is, it's all day, every day. The facade is going to go away real quick because you're just in there, you're with kids 5 to 6 hours every day. And so, there's no point in trying to present this super religious, never mess up, button down guy, which would be impossible for me anyways. But certainly kind of you get down to that bare who I am very quickly. And there's no sense in trying to put on something, airs or something for somebody and what they might think. But, we appreciate you being with us. We're always happy to have you join us with the Ask Lonnie Jones Anything. And we know that your time is valuable. And we certainly appreciate you sharing a few moments with us and answering a few questions.
Oh, man, my pleasure to do it. I look forward to this particular podcast because I never know what you guys are going to throw at me. And then, if I do a good job with it, you guys will talk about it. If I don't do a good job with it, you guys will tease me mercilessly about it.
Such is the relationship.
Doing a question and answer thing. And this years ago. And this kid called in and said, well, God's a spirit, but the Bible says that God has hands and ears and eyes. What does that mean? And my brother goes, oh, well, they're just using an anthropomorphism. And there was just silence on the radio. And the little kid who was the caller went, okay, thanks. And hung up. And we've teased my brother about that for years. Yeah, the kid was probably in the 5th grade. And you go, yeah, that's an anthropomorphism. And you're like, oh, okay.
Shut the wheels down.
That probably predated Google too. So there's no
for sure.
Couldn't look it up.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.